At some point in your life, you'll realize the career that you worked so hard to build doesn't quite fit anymore. The life that once felt exhilarating feels too safe, and friends and family no longer fit into the life that you're building. And that realization can feel scary, especially if it means you have to step out of your comfort zone and into something completely new. You start asking yourself questions like, why am I restless? Why doesn't this excite me the way that it used to? And is it too late to change? Today, we're talking about career pivots, rebranding, and giving yourself permission to evolve at any age without shame, without panic, and without feeling like you've failed. If you've been quietly feeling like you're outgrowing the life that you once prayed for, this episode is for you. Let's talk. Hey friends, welcome back to the Jennuine Life. If you're new here, my name is Jen, and this is a space where we talk about real life, growth, and navigating adulthood with honesty and grace. Today's episode is all about career pivots and life rebrands, especially as you get older when life starts forcing you outside of your box. And I get this question a lot because I'm not sure if you all know, but I am going to share a little bit of my story today because I am the queen of a pivot. Okay. I cannot tell you how many times I get DM'd asking, from people who are asking me questions around how to pivot, how to rebrand. So before we jump into today's episode, I will definitely share a little bit of my background with you so that you understand that I am hella qualified to talk to you about a rebrand. So this episode might be a little long, but I hope you'll find it helpful. I'll be sharing practical tips toward the end that you can apply that I used personally to help me continue to rebrand and pivot myself so that I always stay ready. Before we even jump into today's topic, I have to ask, how are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope your week last week was fantastic. The last time that we connected was Super Bowl Sunday. So if you watched the game, I hope you enjoyed it. I personally thought the game was corny. Uh, it was so slow, and I was expecting it to be more of like a duel. It just was so one-sided. Definitely proof that defense wins games. But you know what? I'll save the football talk for later. The real star of the show was Bad Bunny. I mean, wow. I just thought the show was phenomenal. And seriously, like, do I speak any English? No. Look, I can't even speak English. Do I speak any Spanish? No. Only thing I know is sí and un poquito, bonita, but that's it. Okay. But what is understood does not need to be explained. I did not need to know a lick of Spanish to understand that there was a message that was being shared, and it just drove me to research, ask questions. I knew someone was going to translate the show, and it once I figured out and heard what he was sharing, it just I couldn't help but get emotional. So I just thought it was just a fantastic halftime show. Then, work was work. Had a pretty nice week, very productive week. So I'm really glad to be off on Monday. And for those of you who are off as well, I hope you have something lined up, whether that's to relax on the couch or maybe you're grabbing some brunch or heading out. Whatever you decide to do, if you're off tomorrow, I hope you enjoy to the fullest, because I know for me, man, I'm looking forward to it. I am so ready for that extra day off. I also had an opportunity to share a cool memory with my parents this week. I found out that they had never had smash burgers before. And so it just so happened that this place kept popping up in my feed on Instagram called Dr. Smash Burgers, and they are a pop-up. And they tend to pop up around the Gwinnett area. And so my parents and I decided to go out and support. and they did not disappoint. They were absolutely delicious. If you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, I did share a recap of us grabbing these burgers. So feel free to follow me over there. You know, I'll always have my socials tagged for you. But yeah, it was a really cool time. And it was really nice to be able to share that memory with them because they ended up loving the burger. And it was just nice to see them try something different. The other highlight of my week was getting my hair done. For those of you who know, I also have been wearing braids since cutting my micro locks out about 6 months ago. And so I've been wearing my hair in braids because I pretty much cut my locks out completely. I had a baby fro and I was I had no hair. So I haven't been touching my hair at all and it's just grown significantly. So anyway, I said all that to say that when I went to get my hair done, I initially sent her a picture of something that I wanted. And when I got there, she told me that after taking a look at my social media page, that she decided that she was going to do something completely different. And when she told me this, I am not going to lie to y'all, okay? I panicked. It reminded me that we go to professionals for their expertise, right? And so I have to trust her. And y'all, I fell in love with what she did. Fell in love with what she did. Okay. Prompted me to do today's episode because I had to tell myself it's never too late to change. It's never too late to try something different. And it's always the right time to do something for yourself. And all of this kind of led to today's topic because sometimes life forces us to just pause and ask, is this still working for me? Or is it time for a change? See, what I want you to first understand is life isn't linear. It never is. It never will be. I mean, just look back on your past week. For the most part, while a lot of your week may have felt the same, you made intentional decisions to shake things up a bit. Whether that was to try new coffee, or maybe you tried a new lip gloss, you tried a new nail color, or maybe you even spoke to a total stranger in an effort to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Sometimes just the thought of a pivot or a rebrand can feel scary. Just like when she told me that she wanted to surprise me with my hair color, I was terrified. But you have to take small steps toward doing something different every day. New habits, new lives, new careers, they are not built overnight. And you'll never know what you're good at or what you like or what you don't like if you don't try something different. They are all the result of small, intentional decisions that guide you towards the life that you want. We live in a society where we are so used to seeing someone's final result that we forget that there is always a journey filled with ups, downs, and pivots that guided them to that final result that we see today. Forgetting the journey will trap you into thinking that you are behind or unsuccessful, and that is simply not true. A lot of women, as they get older, feel this low level dissatisfaction with work, their life, or both. But we don't always talk about it. On paper, everything looks fine. You're experienced, you're capable, and you're dependable, but internally, you're tired. You feel unfulfilled or just craving something different. And then comes the guilt because you're supposed to be grateful, right? You're probably doing better than most in your circle. You want for nothing. You have everything that you need. So why can't you just be content? But wanting more alignment doesn't mean that you're ungrateful. It means that you're growing. And rebranding doesn't erase your past. Rebranding is the intentional decision to realign how you show up in the world with who you've become, not who you used to be. It's not about pretending. It's not about starting from scratch. It's about updating the story so it reflects your current values, priorities, and truth. Every job that you've had, every skill that you've learned, Every season you survived, every heartbreak, every win, it all comes with you. Nothing that you've experienced was a waste of time. You're not throwing away experience, you're just repositioning it. Who you were at 25 needed different things than who you are now at 38 or 42 or 45. And I need you to understand that that is okay. I find myself sometimes even saying, oh, when I used to do this at 30, and then I keep comparing where I am now to where I was when I was 30, of course it's going to be different. Jennifer today is certainly not Jennifer when she was 30. Rebranding can look like using the skills that you already have in new ways, shifting your identity from what you've always done to what you're ready for now, updating how you talk about yourself, your work, and your goals, and allowing your interests, energy, and boundaries to change without apology. It's an internal shift first, then the external follows. One of the biggest lies that women hear is that it's too late to change. It's too late to pivot. Oh, it's too late to try something new. It's too late to dream again. Oh, and don't have a kid. Your life is like over at that point. But here's the truth. Time is going to pass anyway. So 5 years from now, you'll either be grateful that you tried or wishing that you had. You are not behind. You're right on time for this version of yourself. And here's something important. Pivoting doesn't mean hating where you are. You can honor the season that you're in while preparing for what's next. Sometimes the pivot is loud. Sometimes it's quiet. And sometimes it starts with clarity and not action. Give yourself permission to move at your own pace. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, I feel the pull to change, but I don't even know where to start, I want you to know that a pivot doesn't have to be dramatic to be real. Whether you're feeling called to pivot into a new career or you're craving changes in your personal life, your routines, boundaries, or the way you show up, a rebrand doesn't require a 5-year plan or a perfectly mapped out next move. Most rebrands happen quietly through small intentional choices that add up over time. So, I want to share a few practical ways that you can begin pivoting or rebranding, both professionally and personally. Things that you can actually do right where you are without blowing everything up. And before I do that, I wanted to share a little bit of my story. So, for those of you who do not know, I am currently a technical recruiter now within the fintech space. But it wasn't always that way. I actually was pretty good in high school. I graduated top of my, like, not the super top of my class, but I was up there. I think I was like, I don't know, I was in the 20s. I'm not trying to brag, but I was smart, okay? But I went to college and it did not translate. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the lack of structure. You know, when you're in high school, you have, you're pretty much on a tight schedule. I don't know if the adjustment of that was just difficult for me, but I just could not get with college. Couldn't do it. So I've never graduated. I don't have a college degree. And so I went straight to work after trying multiple colleges. I went to Temple for less than 2 years, and my parents, I failed. So I think I had passed like one class, and my mom was like, look, like, if you can't do this, the school is expensive. You need to figure out what you're going to do. Either you're going to stay there and get it together, or you need to come home and go to work. It was to the point where I had to take an intro to tennis class because I had to go to summer school. Intro to tennis? Ciao. Yeah. So anyway, I decided to come home. I started working in retail. I was working as a sales associate at Nautica at Jersey Gardens Mall for a really long time, and eventually started to work my way up the ladder and was a key holder and a manager. And if you know anything about working at the mall, it's totally normal to jump around and work at different places. and just kind of bounce around to whoever was paying more or wherever the next opportunity was. And so that's what I did. I worked at Nautica, I've worked at Lacoste, I've worked at the Limited, and the Limited was my favorite. That is the place that I actually spent the most of my time. I think I spent almost 7 years with them. I had been promoted twice working at the Limited, and I just found my groove in retail. I loved helping customers. I loved the fashion part of it. At the time, the schedule worked for me. I was okay working weekends and holidays. The money was cool. And then I met someone, and that life just no longer worked. I wanted more of a Monday through Friday kind of 9 to 5 job. And so did some networking and was afforded the opportunity to kind of switch gears and move into an account management role with a company that was similar to Groupon. Again, I think it's super important here for me to call out that through networking and someone offering me an opportunity, I took advantage of it. Was I getting paid less than what I was in retail? Yes. But the trade off was I was working Monday through Friday. I had my weekends off and I could spend more time with the person that I was with. And I loved it. It was really cool. And then I got laid off. I was kind of chilling for a little while. And things started to get a little tough until someone said, "Did you ever apply to a staffing agency?" And I had never heard of a staffing agency before. And so I shared my resume. I was in the process of literally sharing my resume with any and everybody who would take it and look at it. I was no different than somebody selling a CD out of a trunk. Okay. I literally was giving it to everybody like it was a business card. And eventually my resume landed on the desk of a recruiter at Adecco. And she called me. Her name was LaShare. And she said, "Hey, I have a project coming up with General Electric. It should last about 6 months. It's a dispatcher role. Do you want it?" I have never dispatched a day in my life. But I took it because I needed to work. And I was there for 3 months. My contract ended early because we did a phenomenal job. And the project actually went faster than they had planned it to. And so after that, I did not know it at the time, but later found out that when they ended my assignment, my manager called Adecco and told them that he was so pleased with the work that I had done that he really encouraged them to find me something else. So I'm going to pause here. I know the story's a little lengthy, but there's little lessons that I want to share about pivoting and rebranding. Sometimes your pivot doesn't always lead directly to where you're going. Never once did I think I was going to become a recruiter, but I also took advantage of every single opportunity that fit for me at the time. Yes, there may have been some pay cuts involved, but I also understood that the bigger picture is sometimes just getting your foot in the door. And for me, that's what Adecco was, right? They called and one of their receptionists basically had quit. And so they asked me if I would come in and answer some phones, and I did. I reported into the corporate office. I answered phones, y'all, I think for maybe a month. I don't even know if it was that long. And eventually a recruiter quit. And so they asked me if I would mind recruiting and filling a couple of roles, because by that time I knew everybody's role. And she said, "Do you mind just recruiting until we find a new recruiter?" But I said, "Sure, no problem." And I always, always, always give LaShare credit because she literally took me under her wing. I had never recruited a day in my life outside of recruiting sales associates when I was working in retail. And so she took that skill set and just built on it. And she taught me every single thing that she knew about recruiting and gave me an opportunity that nobody else would. And that is exactly how I started my recruiting career. And I worked with Adecco for, I think, 5 years. I was there for a long time and was given the opportunity to be the lead recruiter for Cirque du Soleil when they were here in Atlanta. And that was what sparked my interest with working with corporate clients. I wanted to work with just one client after that. I was hooked. Eventually, that led to an opportunity with Uber Exchange Leasing through Adecco. And once I had Uber on my resume, they're considered a tech company. And so it attracted other tech companies. And that's when I had my opportunity to work at Google and then Amazon, Instacart, Coinbase. And now I'm with another fintech company. And it's just amazing how many pivots I've been able to do. I've gone through layoffs. I've done creative work for people. I have done a multitude of things, and it is hard. It's scary, but I want you to recognize, and this is why you have to be super present, because I want you to recognize that there's always going to be an opportunity to pivot. Always. Even if one isn't handed to you, you can create the door that you can walk through to pivot and change your life. And that is what I'm going to share with you now. Just 5 things that I think are very helpful. Let's get to business. Okay. So these are 5 things I need you to do. If you're thinking about pivoting your career or you want to do a personal rebrand, these are things that have helped me. First, you need to do an honest inventory of what you already have. I need you to set aside 30 to 45 minutes and write down skills that you've used for years, even if they feel basic to you. I want you to write down tasks that people regularly come to you for. And I need you to write down what drains you versus what energizes you. This matters because most pivots don't require new degrees. They require reframing existing experience. You are more qualified than you think. Little did I know that my time in retail prepared me to become a recruiter. There were times when I had to staff for the holiday season because we all know retail, the attrition is crazy. There's constant turnover. People are quitting. People don't show up to work. So I always had to have candidates ready to be hired so that I didn't mess up my schedule. Your life is the same way. You have to constantly be looking for opportunities because you already have the experience. It's about reframing it. So if you're really, really good at planning parties, but you're tired of being a party planner, you can look into pivoting into program management or project management. They do a lot of timeline management, coordination, cross collaboration. So really taking a look at your soft skills and understanding what you do that makes you who you are, those strengths that you have, those skills that you have that feel real basic to you, but are hard to others. Yeah, you need to take inventory of that. A rebrand starts with awareness, not action. All right, second tip. I want you to experiment in low risk, low pressure ways. So test your interest before committing. Freelance on the side. If you're thinking about going back to school to become a chef, but you're really not sure if this is something you'd like to do, start taking pre-orders for meal preps. Or if there's a holiday coming up, maybe start to offer trays and catering pricing for different parties. Offer to cook for a friend's birthday party. Just start to freelance on the side for different things. You can take a short online course, start a passion project for what you're thinking about, or volunteer or consult informally. Like, for instance, if you're thinking about switching careers and maybe becoming an educator, volunteering for like a Big Brother, Big Sister program, and just really starting to get involved with kids, kind of starting to move in the direction of where you want to go and get a feel for what it is that you're trying to do. But these are all low risk and low pressure ways so that if you decide that, you know what, this really isn't for me, there's no harm and no foul. You don't have to leap. You can tiptoe. It's okay. See, if you're like me, I like to go from 0 to 1,000 in 5 seconds, and you're not supposed to do that. Tiptoe. It's okay. Next, I want you to update the way that you talk about yourself. And this is extremely important because if you don't believe that it can be done, it won't be done. If you keep saying to yourself, oh, I don't have this, it's never gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. You have to first change the way that you talk about yourself. I want you to rewrite your bio. If you're on LinkedIn, rewrite your bio, rewrite your LinkedIn headline. If you're on social media, rewrite those bios. Shift from I've always done to I specialize in or I'm transitioning into. This matters because language is branding. People can only see you as clearly as you see yourself. If you keep introducing yourself as who you used to be, that's who the world is going to keep meeting. Next, I want you to build skills for where you're going and not where you've been. So you're going to identify 1 to 2 skills to support your next chapter and start small. Okay? I don't know if you all are seeing this common thread here. We're starting small. Get a certification. Start doing some online tutorials. Read books. Listen to podcasts of people who are doing exactly where you're trying to go. Practice through projects, not perfection. Rebrands aren't overnight, but they are intentional. Every skill that you learn is a vote for the future that you're building. And finally, create emotional safety before you create change. Ask yourself, what support do I need right now? What fears are coming up? What's scaring you? What does stability look like during the pivot? And this might look like saving a small emergency fund or talking to a therapist or a coach, setting realistic timelines, and most importantly, giving yourself grace. This matters because burnout isn't a badge of honor. And I'm going to say that again. Burnout is not a badge of honor. You do not get an award for burning out. Sustainable change requires self-trust. And the way that you build that self-trust is through small actions that take you to where you want to be. A pivot that costs you your peace isn't a pivot, it's pressure. If you're considering a career pivot or a rebrand, I want you to know this. You're not flaky, you're not failing, and you're not confused. You're listening to yourself. You're listening to that quiet voice that's telling you that there's more for you. And you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to evolve. You are allowed to want something different than you did 5 or 10 years ago. Hell, you can want something different than what you wanted yesterday. Okay? You can change. This season isn't about rushing. It's about alignment. Trust that clarity will come, and when it does, you'll know what to do. You can switch things up as many times as you want. Pivot, rebrand, and change careers however you need to and for as many times as you need to. Thank you for spending this time with me. I never take it lightly, and rebranding again does not mean that you're lost, and pivoting does not mean that you failed. It means that you're tuned in to what you want. And it means that you're honoring who you are today. It also means that you're giving yourself permission to evolve personally, professionally, or both. Today, we talked about how rebrands don't have to be loud, how pivots can happen in small, intentional ways, and how every step forward, no matter how quiet, still counts. If you made it this far, thank you, truly. And if this episode spoke to you, go ahead and subscribe to The Jennuine Life and turn on that notification bell on your favorite podcast app so that you don't miss future conversations like this. And share this episode with a friend who's been questioning their next move or feeling stuck between who they were and who they're becoming. And come hang out with me on YouTube. Just search The Jennuine Life for cozy vlogs, honest conversations, and real life moments where we can figure it out together. And I want to invite you to take one small action today. Just one. Update how you talk about yourself. Explore a curiosity, or simply give yourself permission to want something different. Small steps still create change. Alignment grows when you honor yourself. Thank you for being here, and thank you for trusting yourself enough to question, to shift, and to grow. And if no one has told you lately, your experience matters, your evolution matters, and it's never too late to choose yourself. And until next time, be gentle with yourself, trust your timing, and remember, becoming who you are meant to be is not a race. I'll talk to you in the next episode.